Open Line Friday, we don't always succeed, always try to get to the phones in the first hour. And we're going to start with Annie in Sutton, Michigan. And it says she's 14 years old and new to politics. And so that's great. I'm happy to have you on the program today, Annie. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm happy to be on. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. It's really a thrill to have you here. This is a great opportunity for us.
Oh, it's a great opportunity for me, too.
Well, yes, I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, I found out about your show because my grandma loves you and she always listens to you.
Yes.
So I'm starting high school, and she was just telling me that I better learn about politics because I'm new to public school.
Okay, she was telling you about politics. You better learn about politics because you're new to public school. What did she tell you need to learn?
Well, she just was talking about that I hope I learn more because I used to be homeschooled in private school, so we didn't really talk about politics. So now that I'm in high school, like a public school, we're learning about current events every day and more about the news.
In public school, this is happening, you say?
Yes.
Okay. You're learning more about this stuff than you did being homeschooled?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, continue. Go on.
Oh, so it's just hard because my teacher for current events, she's a really strong liberal. And so it's hard for me because she always, if it's not her opinion or it's not something she's heard, she says we're wrong. And so I'm just trying to figure out, what I could say to her that's still nice and respectful.
Well, this is going to be both a teachable and learnable moment here. But, Annie, I need to ask you a question. I'm up against it on time, and I don't have as much time right now as I need to talk to you about this. Can you hold on to the beginning of the next hour?
Okay.
You sure that's not a problem?
No, so...
Excellent. Okay. Because I'll have more time to actually get into what you're facing and what you want to do in this situation. That's the first thing to figure out is what do you want to do to deal with it? What is your, and how upset does it make you and all that? There are ways to handle this. It all depends on what you want and what you may end up thinking best after you've had some options presented. And then, of course, make sure your grandparents approve after you've talked to me. But hold on, and we will come back and get to you as soon as the next hour begins. Don't go away.
Okay.
Okay, folks, Annie is on hold, and we'll broom the opening monologue. Well, we won't broom it, but we'll move the opening monologue in the next hour. And when the next hour begins, we'll get right back to the phone call with Annie. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you here. Rush Limbaugh, the one and only Excellence in Broadcasting Network on Friday.
Live from the left coast at our satellite studios in Los Angeles, it's Open Line Friday.
Yes, sirree, Bob. 1 down, 2 to go. And then another NFL pink weekend on tap. And we're still going to be moving forward here on Fatherhood Awareness Month in the NFL as we proposed it yesterday. More details coming up today. Open Line Friday. We go to the phones. Whatever you want to talk about is fine. 800-282-2882. And the email address, ilrushbo@eibnet.com. As promised, we go right back now to Annie. She's 14. She's in Sutton, Michigan. She's been homeschooled and is going to high school. Is this your first year in public education, your first year in high school?
Yes.
Okay. You've got, and just so I understand, as you set the table, you have a liberal teacher who is using current event. She's very liberal. What is she teaching about? What's she teaching about current events? Did you say?
Well, every day we have to watch the news, and then we go into class and we have discussions.
Okay.
So whatever's going on, she talks about.
Okay, let me tell you what I think that you need to know before you determine how you want to deal with this. Okay. I wish I had known at 14 what kind of I wish I had known how liberals are and how they think when I was your age. I didn't learn this until much later. And I think it's crucial for you to know this before you decide how you want to deal with it. In the first place, if your teacher is a common liberal, there is no other point of view than hers. And no matter what she says, she isn't interested in it. Now, she may use an opposing point of view as a teaching exercise to further establish her own by mocking or making fun of or impugning an opposing point of view. But most liberals I know do not consider themselves to even be liberals, Annie. They just think of you and me as conservatives, and that means, therefore, we're odd and we're kooks and maybe extreme and maybe mean and all that. They think that they are utterly, totally normal, that there's nothing biased about them, nothing ideological about them at all. And they talk about tolerance. They talk about being open to opposing points of views, but they aren't. They don't want to hear it, particularly if you do it well and you challenge her worldview in a way that shakes it up. She's going to be mad, not happy. She already thinks she has all the answers to every... Is it a she? Your teacher?
Yeah.
Okay, she thinks that she's got all the answers. And what I wish this weren't the case. I really wish it weren't the case. My experience is that this teacher is going to use this assignment. You've got to watch the news and come in and talk about it every day. This is her opportunity to not teach you, but to indoctrinate you into what she believes. Most of what she will teach you is how wrong conservatives are. Most of what she'll teach you is how mean and extreme or bad they are. She will also spend time talking about how, many even use the word liberal in describing herself, but the people she supports are always the nicest and the most and the fairest and all of this. But I've just found them to be exclusionary and intolerant, and I've also found them to be almost dead wrong about everything. But you are in a subordinate position to her because in that classroom she's the authority figure, and she holds sway over you with her grade, your grade, and you're interested in getting as good a grade as you can. And I'm sure you want the teacher to respect you and like you at the same time, correct?
Yes.
Right. Well, that's another thing. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, some people might get mad at me because you're 14. I wish also that I had learned at your age that behaving in such a way as to make people like me made me behave in ways that really weren't myself. I mean, when that became the objective, because Annie, when you want to be liked, not just with everybody, but when you teacher, you want to be liked, you're automatically making yourself subservient or subordinate. You're already granting that she's already right, she's already better, and that you've got to do something to please her. And instead, what you should do is stay really focused on what it is you believe, and don't be intimidated off of it or out of it, and don't be talked out of it unless it really changes your mind. But don't be intimidated. Don't be Don't let fear take over in this relationship. It's tough, too, because she is the teacher. She does have a lot of power over you with the issuance of the grade. And I know you want to get along with everybody in class, and that's fine. That's cool. But at the same time, don't let any of that make you think that what you think is wrong or maybe inferior or abnormal. Don't let anybody make you think that what you think is the minority way of thinking about something, because it isn't. There are more people like you than there are not in the country. I don't know about in your classroom, but in the country, there are more people like you than there are not. And you've got a great solid foundation here, probably from your parents and your grandparents. And liberal teachers see that as a problem. And her objective is going to be to make sure everybody in that class sees the news her way. That's what she's going to do, is try to teach you that her analysis of the news is the only analysis that there is. Now, since I've said all that, I am certain you have questions. You might think I'm wrong, or maybe I don't understand the specifics of your circumstance. So your turn now. Tell me what you want to ask me, or if you think I'm wrong about something, have at it.
Well, no, I think you're perfectly correct. I actually agree, and it's frustrating to me when in class, like, it's just, it always has to be her opinion, and then it makes me feel stupid because I feel like my opinion's always wrong if I say the wrong thing or if I don't have enough information. So
now, I need to ask you, does she behave in a way that makes you feel stupid? Does she say something to you or to the rest of the class about what you've said that makes you feel stupid?
Well, her facial expressions, or she'll always like shake her head and be like, "No, I'd never heard that," and it just makes, like, in front of the whole class, so it just makes me feel stupid.
Annie, she may never have heard what you think. Liberals are I'm telling you, they're very close-minded and they're arrogant, and they don't think that there is any other way than theirs. And you may well have a point of view on whatever it is that she hasn't heard before. I guarantee you, she doesn't hang around with a lot of people like you. Yeah. She hangs around fellow liberals, and they sit around and they talk about how dumb, short-sighted, or buffaloed or stupid conservatives are, and who makes them that way. You probably many times will offer an analysis of something you saw on the news that she hasn't thought of before. You are probably going to be far more well-rounded in your knowledge about current events than she is. And that's when she realizes that she's going to feel threatened. And then she'll strike out even more. Remember, you're a 14, in her mind, she's got a golden opportunity to turn you into a mind-numbed liberal robot that will forever vote Democrat and forever dislike and oppose conservatives. One of the men that I read frequently when I was your age, or just a little bit older than you, was William F. Buckley Jr. And he said something that I've always kept with me. He said, liberals claim, and you tell me if this describes your teacher, liberals claim to want to give a hearing to other views. In other words, liberals claim that they're open to all points of view, but then they are shocked and offended to discover that there are other views. So while your teacher may tell you she's open to other views and wants to hear what you tell her what you think, and she makes a face. You tell her what you think, and she, how could you think that? Who told you that? So she's not really open to other things. She may think she is. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm just describing to you here the political characteristics of a liberal. And believe me, if she has set this course up this way, she's looking at this course as a political, or in a political framework, not an educational framework. And it's an opportunity. And by the way, Annie, she has been taught at where she went to school how to do this. the liberals have taken over and monopolized the education system. They learn how to indoctrinate and propagandize students whose minds are young and fluid, not made up on things, and very impressionable. And it's going to be hard on you to remain true to what you believe, because you're not going to get any support from the one person in the classroom you'd like to get it from, the teacher. I mean, every student wants to impress the teacher. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be very hard for you here. It's sad. And I could be, she may not be exactly as I'm describing it. She might be a little bit different. So, but time will tell. You'll know as this plays out. The school just started not long ago, so you've got a long way to go here. But it doesn't sound good if she's already mocking you and making you feel small because of what you believe.
Yeah.
Now, how have you been reacting to it so far?
Well, I kind of just I don't agree with her, but I just don't say anything, and I just stay in my seat, and I'm just to myself, okay, I heard it, so that's all that matters.
Well, there's a number of ways you can do this. You can do that, and that's the safe way. Just make sure pretend you're wearing a suit of armor, and whatever she's saying doesn't get through. You know, you're going to, that class is over, you're still going to be Annie when you walk out of there. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be Annie having been converted by the teachers. You can do it that way. Another thing you can do is try to have fun with it. Go out and find a point of view or a reaction to something in the news that you think is going to freak her out, and tell her you think. Now, be honest. Don't make something up. But you just see how much fun you can have, causing her to have reactions of disbelief and what have you. And again, you may come up with a point of view she's not heard before. She's not experienced somebody like you, or somebody with your whatever opinion you might utter. It's the thing that you don't want, because you said you want to remain respectful, and that's always, particularly in your situation, a great objective. This woman, this teacher, does not have to be ever your enemy. You can look at this as a great learning opportunity yourself, because I tell you what's going to happen here. In addition to everything you've described, you're going to learn in this class exactly, and you probably know a lot already based on just what you've said. You're going to learn a lot about who liberals are. So it's a great, be open to that. Okay, what do they think? How do they think? That will always help you as you go through life, knowing what you're dealing with, who you're dealing with. Whatever, don't let her make you feel small because of what you think. Don't let her intimidate you because of what you think. And if you feel like it now and then, ask her to prove what she's saying. If she makes some outrageous, outlandish claim that you either disagree with or that you think is just mean-spirited, you say, well, can you give me some evidence of that, Miss So-and-so? Can you tell, well, how do you know that? Ask her, say, how do you know that what you know is right? Throw that one at her. See what happens. Now, a lot of students will just sit there and try to get through this and get the grade and move on, and take the path of least resistance, because you're going to have many other teachers and you're going to have many other schools and many other classes, and your objective is to get to those. So whatever you do, your grandmother told you just to be respectful at all times. Mm-hmm. That's right. Always do that. Do not. That's just good manners, and do that no matter what. Always remain above the taunting. Always remain above the insults. That's how you'll learn to be confident. Never lose the confidence of what you believe. Never. Because if it's in your heart and if it's in your soul, it's who you are. Don't let somebody talk you out of being you. Hold on to your confidence, and understand that your parents, your family, have given you a foundation here. They love you. Don't let the teacher chip away at that. Don't let them insult your parents. I don't know that any of this will happen, but I know liberals. I know how they attempt. They're not interested, Annie, in winning arguments or winning debates. They don't do that. They try to intimidate people into not believing what they believe, and it's just it's a challenging thing. Anything else? I want you to make sure that you run some of these things I've said by your parents, because I don't want you to do anything that they wouldn't want you to do.
Okay, I will. Because they're like our family, like we're all super, like, well, not super, we're like moderate conservative, but we're all like, my parents are Republicans, so, and my grandma is very conservative as well. So it's just like hard coming from like that environment into a whole new one.
Well, I know, and I'll tell you, Annie, in many places you're going to be considered the enemy. I've got to hang on, Annie. I got to take a commercial break, but don't go away. I want to elaborate on that point. We'll be right back. We're back with Annie in Sutton, Michigan. Annie, I just want to say one more thing to you. Actually, two things. I want to send you a signed copy of my upcoming book, Rush, Revere, and the Great Pilgrims, right up your alley. I mean, be ideal for the situation that you're in. And if you will hold on when we finish here, the kind Mr. Snerdley will get an address where we can send this to you. And I'm very excited to do this. Second thing, when you finish school every day, if something happens that has bothered you, tell your parents. Go home and tell your parents and your grandparents about it. If for no other reason than you're not holding it in, go home and talk about it. That's fine to do that, but always, your heart will never lie to you, Annie. If you're in touch, you always when wondering how to react to things like this in class. You've got a great set of manners that you've been inculcated with. I'm sure your parents have taught you well in that regard. Just follow your heart, because it'll never lie to you. And I'm really glad that you got through today. This is a great chance for me, and I'm so happy to have met you. Now, don't hang up the phone. We'll be right back. Be courageous, Annie. Just be courageous. Stick to your guns and be nice about it. It's probably the best advice that can be given. I find it's amazing how often we get this question. We get calls like this, usually from college students, sometimes high school. But this, I think, may be the youngest call we've ever had from a student wondering how to act in class with a liberal teacher. I wonder if liberal kids call liberal talk shows and ask how to get along in a conservative. No, it doesn't. There's no thought of getting along. Plus, there aren't that many conservative institutions where this kind of thing would happen. Anyway, folks, great to have you here on Open Line Friday.